All right, good day, ladies and gentlemen. Of course, my name is Omojesu Alfred, and this is Katalambano with the boss of all bosses. And of course, I have Apostle Tony right here with us on set. Apostle, how's everything?
Thank you, Amojesu. The Lord bless you.
All right, the Lord bless you, to Apostle. Last week we actually looked at topic that has to do with favor from God and how we can attract those blessings from God. We've handled a lot of topic on this platform, and you've said so much on how we can how we can receive blessings from God from time to time. But today we are looking at the young people, the youth, and violence. Now, sometimes the young people will go to a certain point in our life when we think or we feel that we can just do everything that we want to do, where we have enough ability to carry out some things. We can do some rallies. I'm trying to say we don't need this, we don't need that. It means the wrong words at the right time. So today we are actually pleading for you to help us and handle this discussion. Okay, being a youth, what is it all about?
Yes, good morning, Amojesu. Once again, we want to talk about the youth and violence. And I said, being a youth, what is youth all about?
Yeah.
Yes, in some perspective, the age measurement of youth diverse. But when we talk about youth, being a youth, we are talking about the labor force.
Okay.
We're talking about the strength.
Okay.
And that's why the man, Jacob, will say that his first son, Reuben, was the strength of his youth.
Okay.
So we're talking about labor force. So when we talk about being a youth, we're talking about the labor force that can give back to productivity, that can give back to manufacturing establishment, that will result to economic empowerment of every organization or family vis-a-vis where it applies.
Okay. Okay, let's look at the violent part. How do they avoid? How can they avoid violence?
Okay, now when we talk about youth and violence, now you know that when we talk about violence, violence is everywhere, including in heaven.
Okay.
So violence cannot actually be avoided without some parameters.
Okay.
You know, the Bible said the kingdom of heaven suffered violence, and the violence taken it by force.
Right.
And when we read further, I found out that yes, Lucifer was the father and founder of violence.
Okay.
So I said the devil does not come, he comes to kill, steal, and destroy. So in violence, when we talk about violence, violence is an action or an act capable to cause hurt or damage or killing to So can you attribute it now to what the Lucifer, the devil is? To kill, steal, and destroy. So, and in violence, you find out that in violence, you see stealing, you see looting, you see raping, you see a lot of things. That's why, so those attributes, that's what I said. Now, violence is everywhere. Now, what happened? The Lucifer was thrown down, so there will be no more violence in heaven. And Bible says, I say, woe to the inhabitants of the earth, because violence has come now to stay with us.
Right.
Now, so which means that if the youth are not used usefully, they'll be violatic.
Okay.
But if they grow in the fear of God, there will be no violence. So violence only comes in when certain parameters are not upheld. If we say the youth are the labor force, which means for violence not to come, not to stay in place, there is certain provision of amenities by the government, by the society towards the youth that will make them to be stabilized and they'll be busy and not thinking about violence. You occupy them, you occupy the youth. But when they're not occupied with useful ventures, then you expect nothing than violence.
Okay. So now the Bible said something. It said, train up a child in the way he will go, that in the way of the Lord, that when he goes, he will not depart from it. Now, what is the major cause of any young youth that goes into violence? Is it from the parents or from the society?
Yes, the question you ask now is technical and sensitive.
Okay.
If it's from the parents or from the society,
Yeah.
I'll answer you that both.
Both the parents and society.
Yes,
So
both the parents and society. Yes, just as you quoted, bring up a child in the way he or she should go, and when he's old, he will not depart from it. The parents might have brought their children in that perspective, and some might have failed to bring them up. That's what I said, both, now parents. Now, the society, after graduation, are supposed to provide job opportunity for the masses, for the youth. So where they are not able to provide job opportunity for the youth, it now becomes an idle man. And they say an idle man is the devil's workshop. So at that point in time, they do not expect any other thing from an idle man than to survive. And in the course of survival, the youth no longer think what is right and what is not right. What is after is survival service. So violence comes in. So the society fails and the parent fail in some area. While in some society, the society tries and the parent fails. That's why I say it's both. Both the parent and the society has to be held responsible for violence.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, of course, at this point in time, we would like to go on a very short break. Don't forget, my name is Omojesu Alfred, and this is Katalambano with the boss of all boss. And of course, we have Apostle here right there with us. On set, our usual routine every Friday, telling us on how we can actually walk in the ways of the Lord, how we can get blessed. And today we are looking at the youth and violence. It has been one of the major challenges in our society today, where the youth goes around, not all the youth, some of the youth commit nuisance in the society, and we're looking at who are the major cause. Is it their parents or the society? And according to Apostle, it said it's from both sides. But before we continue, ladies and gentlemen, we would like to go on a very short break, so go nowhere. We'll be right back shortly.
Straight from the lab.
Now, welcome back from the break. Don't forget, this is Katalambano with the boss of all boss. And of course, Apostle is with us right here on set, and we're looking at the youth and the violence. So how do we prevent? Now, I know you said we cannot prevent it 100%, but how do we prevent it? Even though it's from the parents or from the society, the damage has been done. But how do we prevent it not to affect the younger ones coming up?
Thank you. When we look at prevention, now, we are clergy, so we will take you back to the biblical basis. When Proverbs chapter 26, verse 2 says, a bird by wandering, a swallow by flying, so shall a causeless shall not come.
Okay.
So everything that happens has a reason, has a cause.
Okay.
If the bird was not wandering, nothing will happen to the bird. If the swallow was not flying, nothing will happen to it. So it causeless. So the parents from childhood must raise the child in the way they should go. If they're able to do that, then we now know that the onus now lies with the society to give them back by employing them usefully. Now you see in the scenario of Jacob and Laban, they had an agreement that for 7 years you will be schooling, you will be working with hard labor. And the ending of the 7 years, this is your wage. So at the ending of a child's graduation from the side, or at a certain age, the government should be able to make provision for certain things. If they're able to do that, you find out that now the parents have done their own slot, raising the child in the way it should go, in the fear of the Lord, whether Christian or Muslim, in the fear of the Lord. So the child now has the basic foundation of what the fear of the Lord is all about. Conscience to discern between good and evil. So now at the time when you are mature, you are an adult, the government, the society is able to provide you with a job. So when they provide you with a job, it keeps you busy. You go to work in the morning, you come back in the evening. You are tired, you want to have some rest. But if you are just wandering, from morning, just as I said in Proverbs 26:2, the bird by wandering, you are just wandering, not doing anything. Then every time you get yourself engaged and busy by the devil. So how do we prevent it? Is parents, do your slot by raising your child in the fear of God. Society, provide the basic amenities for these people, for the youth. We talk about housing, we talk about good roads, light, education. Provide these things. If you provide these things, then we are going to be able, as you said, not exterminate all entirely, but by that time, prevention will have been about 70-80%. So we now have a good society where people can walk freely without even the intrusion of police guard or security guard.
All right. Before we call it to wrap, Pastor, at this point in time, we want you to do a little summary of what you told us today concerning the youth and violence, and also let us know how we can worship alongside with you. For those of us watching outside the country, outside the shores of Nigeria, how would they get to connect with you?
Thank you, Omojesu. We're talking about youth and violence, and we
Yeah.
said youth is the labor force of every family, every society, every nation. And violence is the act or action of creating damage, hurt, or killing, or stealing.
Okay.
And we said these two pari passu because these youth are the labor force. So they have the vitality and the strength to carry out damage.
Okay.
So if we know that this damage is affecting our economic resources, overall economy of the country, of the nation, then we must look for a way to curb it. And how do you curb it? We say is to put down measures between the parents and the society.
Okay.
And for the parents, do your lot by raising the child in the fear of the Most High God. And for the society, be willing and be ready to ever produce, to give to the society what they need as social amenities, water, housing, education, jobs, so that the youth are being occupied at the appointed time. If they are being occupied at the appointed time, they will not have time to reason for violence. So by so doing, we have reduced the menace in the society created by the youth, because now we now have a productive youth. A useful youth, not an idle youth. So what we need is a productive youth. And in that productive youth, the society and the parents has a great role to play to convert an idle youth to a productive youth. In a productive youth, that is when the economy of the country will also grow, because the country, the family will also make profit from it in our GDP, gross domestic product, and our gross domestic income, GDI. We're going to make profit from it. We are a Touch from God Ministries, located at number 7 Minichinda Street in the heart of Elimbu, Port Harcourt. Days of services are Tuesdays, 8 a.m. to 12 noon is our fasting time, and from 12 noon to 4 p.m. is our counseling time. And every Friday is an evening with the Lord, 6 p.m. to 8 p.m., with an exception of second and last Friday of every month that happens to be a night with God. It's a tarry night. Come expectant, you can go back the same. It's an extraordinary night. And our Sunday services are gracious services, with our first service starting from 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. and the second, 10 a.m. to 12 noon. Come expectant, for you won't go back the same, for God himself is still changing lives. You are welcome. The Lord bless you.
All right, you're welcome. The Lord bless you, ladies and gentlemen. That is where we call it a wrap for today. Don't forget, this is Katalambano. I want to say thank you for coming, Apostle. Thank you. We definitely are not going to take that for granted at all. Ladies and gentlemen, until we see again, same station, same time next week. But I don't know. Let me answer, Apostle. Do you have a plan for those watching outside the country to get connected with you?
Yes, I think our number is on the screen. And you can also follow us on our Facebook page, Touch TV, on Instagram, and on YouTube, Touch TV. You can follow us, and there's also a number on the screen showing where you can easily connect with us. All right. The Lord bless you.
All right. Okay. All right. Of course, for those of you calling outside the country, don't forget to add the +23. All right. 234 to get connected to him directly. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that's what we call it a wrap. We'll see you again same time next week. So always keep your swag on. Don't forget to go to service on Sunday, because it is your goal. So tell someone to tell the next person that Apostle is always on air every Friday. God bless you.
Straight from the lab.